Ball for Friday with the 4 games. Phil tomorrow, Brent tomorrow, as you and I will go through. We try to get Tony Dungy on today, give you a little sense of Tony, but we haven't been able to find him, but we'll keep an eye on that. If he pops in, we'll put him on tomorrow as we chat to you about what's cooking as far as the world of sports is concerned. Really, there is not a lot to, there's an NBA game going on right now in London. I don't understand why they want to play these games in London, but they are. I know Europe basketball is big, but Celtics and Sixers, Boston's up 14, 6 minutes to go in this game. Oklahoma City can't get themselves started as far as the NBA is concerned. Lonzo Ball did a terrible job. I'll do this for a second. Oklahoma City's been a mess, so for whatever the reason, I wonder if Billy Donovan's in any kind of trouble because they really just can't get it going. And I'll tell you right now, is he the kiss of death or what in this Carmelo Anthony? I mean, everywhere he goes, he never wins. You ever notice that? He wins his freshman year at Syracuse, and whether it's Denver, the Knicks, or the Oklahoma City, he's almost like a curse. I don't know. You get him and you're going to lose for whatever the reason. But Oklahoma City cannot fire, so you'd be somewhat concerned by that. The Lonzo Ball thing is a disaster. The fact that he didn't have the guts. Forget Magic. Magic, I don't know what Magic is up to. He should have opened up his mouth with LaVar, the idiot, doing what he did. Lonzo Ball should have gone out there and defended his coach. Did you hear that, folks? I mean, basically, he didn't go out there and support his coach, Luke Walton, at all. Let me get this straight. Luke Walton can coach Golden State to a 26-1 start, whatever it was, a few years ago. 50 games, he was phenomenal, and now he can't coach the lousy Lakers. I mean, this is what I'm supposed to believe now. But anyway, they don't want to play for him. But Lonzo Ball, with a chance to support his head coach and basically distance himself from that dopey old man, decides not to and basically takes a pass, and it looks bad in doing so. A bad job. And he's had a lousy year. He can't shoot. He's had, he cannot shoot. I know Magic was not exactly Jerry West shooting the ball either, but I mean, Magic made the 20-footer when he had to make them. Lonzo Ball cannot shoot. He's like 30% from three, 35% from the field. I don't care how many rebounds and assists he has. You got to make a basket as a point guard once in a while, and he can't do that. Anyway, that was a lame protection of his head coach. Again, I don't pay any attention to Ball. I'm proud of the fact that this show has not wasted a cent of space even discussing what he has to say. ESPN decides everywhere he goes, they got to go with him. Now, I'm at two schools of thought with ESPN, with the coaches. The coaches got all ticked off. I'm sure you read about this. Rick Carlisle, head of the Coaches Association, and Van Gundy went nuts. And I mean, Stan did too. And, Jeff, we all love, he did as well. I mean, they really went down. The fact that ESPN, a partner of the NBA, allowed this guy to have this kind of exposure. Now, there's two schools of thought on this, and I'm sort of in between. The one school of thought is, since when is the NBA coach going to tell a major corporation what to write and how to write it? I mean, all of a sudden now I'm going to have Rick Carlisle be the guy who's going to determine what we should read and what we shouldn't read. And, I agree. ESPN likes to chase ambulances. I mean, I understand that, and he is an ambulance. I get it. They like to do that. And, but there is a appetite for it, I guess. And the NBA coach, which doesn't like the fact the partner, ESPN, chooses to give this guy exposure, and then their brethren gets, slaughtered in print. And and then I got to read all from Jeff and from Carlisle and everything else about how it wasn't a balanced story and there's no good quotes. I don't know if I want to hear an NBA coach who can't stand. Most of them hate the media to begin with. I'm not sure if I want to hear an NBA coach go out there and start giving us the ethics of media. That's the one school of thought. I got to hear now, and I love Jeff, and I love Carlisle, and also Stan. But now I got to listen to Stan tell me what I should read and should not read. I mean, now I'm going to hear them basically break down the quality of a story. I got an issue with that. They're not qualified to do it. They're not part of the media. The media is an adversarial scenario for a lot of these teams to begin with. So I'm not too sure if I want to listen to what they have to say about, somebody knocking a coach. Now, I understand the other premise, though, that, who wants to hear from LaVar Ball? I don't. But, somebody must want to. They keep on running him around and chasing him. So it's a tricky situation about how you want to handle that. Now, I will say this. It'd be interesting to see if the NBA coach now takes it out on the Breens of the world and not allow access to writers. See, the problem with that is you're hurting the people who don't deserve to be hurt. If you are now going to cut out access to ESPN basketball personnel because you're mad at ESPN magazine, is that fair? Now, all of a sudden, Popovich, who I'm sure is not a bowl of cherries to deal with anyway, now all of a sudden, Popovich is not going to talk to ESPN writers and broadcasters who go into their building to do it. So, in other words, let me get this straight. So, Stan Van Gundy now, when the Pistons are playing Indiana in front of 9,000, and it's an ESPN Wednesday night game, and Yubi's there, the great Yubi, Stan's not going to talk to him? Let me get this straight. Let me get this right. Now, So, Yubi, who knows more about basketball than any of them, Yubi, who's 82 years of age, when he shows up at an ESPN game on a Friday night when Memphis is playing Dallas, Carlisle's going to blow Yubi off. That's what he's going to do? I mean, because he's mad at ESPN magazine for chasing down the ambulance in LaVar. That's a tricky situation. I'm not sure. I think in a lot of ways, all the coaches did is they paid. I wouldn't even known what was going on. I wouldn't pay attention to ESPN magazine. They almost brought more attention to it. They almost made it worse. They made it a major story. I think in a lot of ways they made you now. Wow, what did he say? What's going on here? They made it a bigger distraction than it could have been. You could argue that from that standpoint. Anyway, make a long story short. I am a little put out by an NBA coach who, and a lot of them go out of their way to be difficult with the media. Now the NBA coach is going to start telling ESPN how to write a story on LaVar. Now, I don't want to read about LaVar either. So, I mean, to me, it's a complete waste of time. But I don't want to hear an NBA coach who knows as much about journalism as my 10-year-old. I don't want a 12-year-old. I don't want to him tell me now what a balanced story is and what isn't a balanced story. That's a little rough. That's a little rough. Because most of them don't know that. And most of them are rough with the media. Rough. And I love the coaches. You know that. I'm a big coaches guy. And, we try to get some on here. Okay, Doc Rivers, we try to get some on here. But it is a scenario where it is a little shaky that I got to listen to Stan break down what is a good story and what isn't a good story. And again, let me see him basically cut out access to Hubie Brown. I got to see that. Because those are the guys you're hurting. You're not hurting the writer. You're hurting Hubie Brown, John Barry. Not hurting him. Anyway, Thunder played awful. Cleveland has been Cleveland. Some days they're into it, some days they're not. They haven't played well lately. The Cavaliers they're only 11-10 on the road. I don't know what it means because they're not going to have home court. They might even be the 3 seed. But is Cleveland shaking in their boots because Toronto and the Cavaliers are ahead of them? And this is really kind of the halfway point. They played about 40 games. And I never trust Houston. Houston's 29-11. D'Antoni can win all the games he wants in the regular season until I see Houston with that group, including Harden, who's overrated. Until I see Houston go up there in a big playoff series and play tooth-to-nails basketball, dig down deep, play hard defense when occasion warrants it, and be in a rough physical tussle against a big-time team. I don't care how many regular season games they win. Last year in Game 6 at home against San Antonio in the second round of the playoffs, they lost 115-75. Golden State has buried them every time you turn around. I'm not so sure if I believe in Houston and what Houston's all about at 29-11. Golden State's cutting above better than anybody else. They're going to sleepwalk through these next 40-something games. They'll win 62, 63 games, not even trying. And, we'll see if they lose more than a game in the postseason. They're not going to lose. Maybe they lose a game in the Western Conference. We'll see. Last year they did not. They lost one game in the whole postseason. Game 4 in Cleveland, up 3-0. So we'll see. 12 after the hour, we'll continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.